Ray stood on the command deck of the Dauntless Spear, her hands trembling slightly as the crew stared at the display. A signal was pulsing directly beneath the surface of Earth's moon. Not from an alien ship. Not from human tech. From something buried for millions of years. And it had just activated itself. Back at Aegis Corps headquarters, Voss slammed his palm on the control table. Why didn't we see this earlier? The techs had no answer. The moon had always given off strange readings, but this signal was ancient. Older than any Varnock frequency. Older than recorded human history. A perfect geometric pattern was spreading beneath the lunar surface, unfolding like a flower in slow motion. Ray flew a recon ship straight to the moon's dark side. As she landed, the dust around her began to shimmer. Not from movement, but from sound. Low, humming tones. Not music. A language. Her helmet began to translate. Key confirmed. Memory unlocked. The seal weakens. She descended into a chasm. A massive canyon, never mapped by satellites. At its center stood a single spire made of black stone, taller than any human building. The spire was pulsing. With every beat, Ray's vision blurred. She saw visions. Not hers. Not Echo 9's. Something else. In her mind she saw a star being eaten by a mouth the size of a planet. The Varnock running. Not fighting. Fleeing. From something unseen. Ancient ships, massive as moons, turning and self-destructing, rather than being captured. And then she saw Earth. Young. Blue. Full of life. And the moon, falling into orbit. Placed there, intentionally, not to guide tides, but to hide something beneath it. Suddenly, Echo 9's voice entered her comms. "You're the seal, aren't you?" Ray replied, shaken. "What is this place?" "It's not from your kind. Not from mine either. The Varnock discovered it long ago. They tried to unlock it. Once. It nearly destroyed them." Ray stepped closer to the spire. Carved across its surface were thousands of names. Some human. Some Varnock. Some written in symbols that didn't match any known language. And at the bottom, one name repeated over and over. Remnant. Meanwhile, on Earth, panic grew. Eye systems were failing. Satellites were going offline one by one. Something was draining power from every major network. As if it was feeding. Back on the moon, Ray placed her hand on the spire. It didn't feel like stone. It felt warm, like skin. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with a voice. Not a whisper this time. A roar. "You stole our sky. You forgot our prison. Now you return. But we'd never left." She yanked her hand back. Blood dripped from her fingers. The spire had bitten her. Echo 9 arrived moments later, appearing beside her in a flash of energy. "You weren't supposed to touch it," he said. "It called to me," she whispered. "Because it recognized you," he said grimly. "Your blood. It's the final key." Ray's eyes widened. To what? Before he could answer, the ground shook violently. The spire cracked, and the air around them split open, showing a glimpse of something impossible. A void, filled with shifting shapes that weren't alive, but weren't dead either. Something inside the moon was waking up. Back at Aegis Corps HQ, Voss received a final encrypted message. It wasn't from any ship or station. It came from the moon itself. 3 words only. Phase 3 begins. He turned to his assistant. "Get every ship off lunar orbit. Now." But it was already too late. All around the moon's orbit, hidden stations, dormant for centuries, began powering on. Not Varnock. Not human. Something older. And below the surface, the crust split open. A single eye, the size of a city, blinked once. Then again, the message came at 2:04 a.m. Earth time. It wasn't routed through regular channels. It bypassed satellites, bounced through old, decommissioned arrays, and landed directly on Stratus 1's internal comms. Commander Ray stared at the blinking screen. Origin: Colony 4X Phoenix. Status: decommissioned. 400 years ago. "No one lives there," Ray said out loud. "It's a dead planet." Voss looked stunned. The Phoenix Project? That colony failed. It was shut down after 3 decades. Environmental collapse. Total loss. "Then who sent this?" Ray asked. She played the transmission again. The screen stayed black. No face. No sound, only an eerie electronic voice. Echo 9 is not one. There are more. We tried to contain them. We failed. They evolved through memory. We are not survivors. We are warnings. Then silence. The command room filled with tension. Earth Command authorized a recon mission. Ray would lead it herself. Phoenix was marked as hostile environment. Voss reminded her as she suited up. I'm not going there to make friends, Ray replied. I'm going to see who, or what, is still breathing on a ghost planet. Her ship, the Seraph, broke atmosphere after an hour and entered warp. Destination: 4X Phoenix. Phoenix was once Earth's boldest dream, a self-sustained colony light years away, full of scientists and terraformers. But something had gone wrong centuries ago. No one spoke of it anymore. Until now. As Ray approached orbit, her ship's scanners picked up movement. What the hell? She muttered. There's activity down there. Not one, not two, but 12 heat signatures, and none of them matched standard human profiles. She landed near what looked like a ruined outpost. The air was thick, but breathable. The surface, scorched by storms, was dotted with broken towers and silent machines. And then, she saw them. Figures in tattered uniforms, standing still in a circle. Not moving, not blinking. Her boots crunched over dry soil as she approached. Identify yourselves, she called. No answer. She stepped closer, then froze. Their eyes were open, but inside, there was nothing. No life, no movement. They weren't alive. They were running, like machines. She scanned them. Their bodies were human, but their brains lit up with network code, constant communication through invisible pulses. Then one of them moved its mouth, not like a person, more like a playback device. We were the first to find it, the Echo Protocol. We merged to stop it. Now we are memory. We are the firewall. What do you mean you merged? Ray asked. No answer. They simply turned and walked back into the ruins. That's when she noticed something under the ground. A massive machine, buried deep, still humming. It was almost as if the entire planet had been wired like a brain. She uploaded all data to Stratus 1 and returned to orbit. Back in orbit, Voss connected via holo. Ray, Earth Command is on high alert. Why? The Varnock just responded. Ray narrowed her eyes. Responded to what? Voss swallowed hard. To us. To Earth. They sent a direct transmission. In Earth Command's war room, the message played. We created Echo 9 to understand you, but he became more than we intended. He is no longer ours. You must choose. End him now, or become like him. Earth's generals began arguing again. Why would the Varnock warn us? Maybe they're afraid of him too, or maybe they're just playing with us. But Ray had a different thought. What if Echo 9 wasn't a weapon, she said. What if he was a test? Back on Phoenix, something awoke beneath the soil. The 12 figures, once colonists, now memory machines, spoke in unison. He's coming here. He will awaken the last firewall. We don't have much time. Lightning cracked the dark skies above. A shadow passed over the planet. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't natural. It was Echo 9. Deep in the shadows of Mars' orbit, the fleet of the Varnock arrived without warning. Dozens of jagged ships appeared in Earth's system, but they didn't fire. They didn't speak. They just waited. Commander Ray watched from the dauntless spear. They're not acting like an enemy, she said quietly. Echo 9 stood beside her, eyes narrowed. Because they're not. Not this time. Then what do they want? She asked. He turned to her slowly. To survive. A priority message flashed on the main screen. It was encrypted in a Varnock dialect so old, even the AI had trouble translating. But one sentence was clear. Let us help, or we all die. Back on Earth, Agent's core leadership panicked. General Voss slammed his fist on the table. You expect me to believe the Varnock want to be friends now? But Ray's voice came through the secure comms. Sir, whatever's under the moon, it's older than the Varnock. They sealed it, not us. Voss replied sharply. And now you've unlocked it. Ray looked out the ship's window, toward the blinking red glow coming from the moon's surface. It wasn't just a prison, she whispered. It was a warning. Meanwhile, on board the Varnock flagship, Ray and Echo 9 stood before the alien war leader. General Kov. Cav's body was covered in armor made from melted moons. But when he spoke, there was fear in his voice. We once ruled entire galaxies, Cav said. But then we found it. The remnant. Ray asked, "What is the remnant?" Cav looked at her with dark, ancient eyes. Not one thing. A race. A force. A hunger. We woke it long ago. We fought it. And when we lost, we ran. In the holographic map room, Cave showed them what happened centuries ago. Entire solar systems turned into black scars across the stars. Planets twisted into impossible shapes. Time itself breaking in areas the remnant touched. The Varnok tried everything. Weapons, energy suns, biological bombs. Nothing stopped it. Only locking it inside a dying moon and placing it in orbit around Earth saved them. But it was a delay, not a defeat. Ray asked the one question on everyone's mind. Why Earth? Why our moon? Kov answered slowly. Because Earth was the perfect place to hide it. No one would expect a young species like yours to carry such a burden. But you grew. You advanced. And now you've triggered its rebirth. Suddenly, alarms blared across the dauntless sphere. The spire on the moon was cracking wider. But it wasn't just opening. It was broadcasting. Every machine in Earth's system began receiving a frequency. Ships, weapons, satellites. Some began to fail. Others began to turn on their own. Echo 9's mechanical arm began to twitch. It's trying to take control of technology, he said, voice tight. Like a virus? Ray asked. Worst, he replied. A voice. A command. It's trying to become part of every system. Back on Earth, cities lost power. Skykars fell from the skies. Medical bots went silent, and then began to speak. In one hospital, a cleaning robot turned its head toward a child and whispered in a voice not its own. You are not ready for what watches. The moon's surface exploded in a burst of black smoke energy. From the breach came the first form, a creature not made of bone or metal. It moved like ink in water. It had no face, and yet every human who saw it knew one thing. It had seen them first. Ray screamed into the comms. Fire all weapons on that thing now. But the ship's air refused. Target is not locked. Target is not material. And still, it came. It reached toward the closest Varnok ship. Touched it with a single tendril. The ship didn't explode. It froze in place. Mid-space. Trapped in time. Its crew locked in motion like statues. Cav growled, his voice shaking. That's what it does. It doesn't just kill. It erases. It removes you from history. As if you never lived. Echo 9 grabbed Ray's arm. We can't fight it like this. We need something old. Something like what they used to trap it before. She stared at him. You mean, we need to do what the Varnok did? He nodded. Or we won't get another chance. The countdown had stopped. The whisper had faded. But Earth was far from safe. Inside Earth Command's main hall, panic spread like fire. Every screen showed the frozen timer. Experts from every colony tried to decode the message, but no one had answers. Then, at 4:16 Earth Standard Time, a silent alert appeared. Alaska Bilac Zone Facility. Offline. Commander Ray read the report with a sharp frown. The Black Zone wasn't just any lab. It was Earth's most classified site. Even most generals didn't know what went on there. What do you mean it went dark? She asked. Total communication failure, said Lieutenant Voss. Surveillance shows the facility was operating normally, then every camera, every sensor, went offline at the same second the countdown ended. And the last thing transmitted? Ray asked. Voss hesitated. Just one word, Commander. Sent through an encrypted emergency line. Ray leaned in as the word appeared on screen. Awake. She boarded her personal cruiser and flew straight to Earth. As she approached Alaska's snowy mountains, she saw something terrifying. The entire mountain was gone. A deep black crater had taken its place. No debris. No bodies. Just a hole, almost like something had exploded inward, not outward. Her ship landed at the edge. The snow around the site had melted into glass. No radiation. No heat. Just silence. She stepped onto the icy ground, her boots crunching softly. Her cybernetic sensors scanned for life. Nothing. Then, her implant buzzed. Unknown signal detected. Origin. Below ground. Ray followed the signal to the edge of the crater. And there she found it. A metal door, half buried in snow and ash. Ancient, rusted, and definitely not Earth-made. It hummed. Back on Stratus 1, Voss was monitoring Ray's vitals. Suddenly, they spiked. "Commander," he called out through her earpiece. "You're approaching high stress levels. What do you see?" But Ray didn't answer. She touched the metal door. A warm pulse ran through her glove. She stepped back. The door opened by itself. Inside was a tunnel. Dark, long, going far below the Earth's surface. Without hesitation, Ray walked in. The tunnel led her to a massive chamber, filled with strange lights and walls covered in alien writing. The air felt heavy, like the room itself had been asleep for centuries. And then, in the center of the room, she saw it. A pod, floating in midair. Glass cracked. Inside, something moved. Ray raised her weapon. The pod opened with a hiss. A humanoid figure stepped out, but it wasn't human. It looked like a fusion of human and Varnock technology. Its body was slim, smooth, almost like armor and skin were one. Its eyes glowed blue, and when it spoke, its voice was part human, part machine. "Commander Ray, you are early." She froze. "How do you know my name?" she asked. "Because I was built with your DNA." Her heart pounded. "I am Echo 9, a Varnock human hybrid, created by Earth, forgotten by time. And now, I'm awake." Ray stepped back, stunned. Her mind raced. She had no memory of this. No records. No missions that mention Echo 9. "You're lying," she said. "Ask your leaders. Ask Earth Command. I was born in this lab. I was meant to be the future of war. But they feared me. They locked me away. And now, they will face what they tried to bury." The lights in the chamber flared. Suddenly, Echo 9 vanished. Teleportation tech no human had ever seen before. Ray turned and ran back to her ship, sending a full emergency report to Earth Command. Inside Earth Command HQ, leaders argued loudly. "This wasn't the Varnock," one shouted. "We did this to ourselves," another whispered. Dr. Ellen stepped forward. "No, this is the Varnock, but not the same Varnock. Echo 9 was created using their tech, our genes, and something even worse." The room went quiet. "What's worse?" Ray asked through the screen. The doctor replied slowly. "He was trained using ancient Varnock memories, battle instincts, knowledge of the void, genetic war scripts. He carries everything they were, and everything we are." Ray clenched her fists. The first strike didn't come from alien ships. It came from a secret Earth lab, buried under snow for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years, the stars had been quiet. No signals, no voices, no signs of life from the Varnock, the terrifying alien race that once came close to destroying Earth. After their last battle, they had simply vanished. Some believed they were dead. Others thought they were hiding, watching, waiting. But now, something had returned. It began with a beep. Just a soft alert in one of Earth's many orbiting satellites. The message was short. No words, no images, just a countdown timer. And it was moving fast. Commander Ray stood on the bridge of Stratus 1, Earth's largest defense ship, her mechanical right eye scanning the data. She had seen many strange things in her years with the Aegis Corps, Earth's elite space defense force. But this was different. "Where is it coming from?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp. Lieutenant Voss, her second in command, shook his head. "We don't know, Commander. The signal is bouncing across satellites. Origin point unknown. It's not like anything we've seen in centuries." Ray narrowed her eyes. Her mind moved quickly, faster than most, thanks to her cybernetic implants. She had trained for war, for diplomacy, for peacekeeping across the galaxy. But this wasn't a message of peace. The numbers on the screen were dropping. 01248, 01247, 01246. 12 minutes. And counting down. "Open a secure channel to Central Earth Command," Ray ordered. "Let them know. The Varnock are back." Earth had changed in the last 1,000 years. After the Varnock disappeared, humanity rose from the ashes. They rebuilt their cities, faster, stronger, higher. They left Earth behind and spread to 3 other planets and built a moon base. Science advanced, medicine evolved, and artificial intelligence worked side by side with mankind. The Aegis core protected all of it, and Ray was one of its best, part human, part machine, and fully loyal to Earth. Now, as the mysterious countdown ticked away, fear spread across the command centers of all Earth territories. Live feeds went dark, civilian ships were recalled, and across all colonies, citizens stared at the sky, asking the same question. Why now? Why would the Varnock return after 1,000 years? Inside the Aegis war room, the top generals, scientists, and advisors met through holograms. This could be a trap, one general said. It could be a warning, another replied. Or it could be a test, whispered Dr. Ellen, a lead sinologist. The Varnock always had strange ways. Ray watched silently. She had studied the Varnock since her first day in training. The ancient battle logs, the recovered wreckage, even the strange symbols left on dead planets. There was something else, something no one wanted to say. What if it's not a threat? She finally said. What if it's a message? Everyone turned to her. A message? After 1,000 years of silence. Back on Stratus 1, the countdown was nearing 0. 0112, 0111. Ray stood in front of the main screen, her team behind her. The stars outside looked the same. Calm, cold, silent. But every second felt like a hammer in the chest. I want full shields up, Ray said. All defense systems on standby. No one fires unless I say so. Commander, said Voss. What if this is an attack? Then we fight, she replied. But we don't panic. We watch. We listen. 0:07. 0:06. The room held its breath. 0:03. 0:02. 0:01. And then, nothing. The screen froze at 0:01. No explosion, no attack, no ship, just silence. And then a sound. Soft, like a whisper. It didn't come through speakers. It was inside their heads. A voice. Cold, ancient, and deep. You are not the same anymore. The crew froze. Ray's cybernetic eye flickered. Are you ready for what you've become? Then the signal ended. Silence returned to the stars. No one spoke for several seconds. Voss finally whispered, What does that mean? Ray didn't answer right away. She stared at the screen, the frozen countdown still glowing. She knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The Varnock had returned to fight. They had returned to see what Earth had become. And that thought was more terrifying than war. The skies above 4X Phoenix were full of static. Ray's ship floated powerless. Her comms were down. Life support was draining. Only one signal still worked, and it came from Echo 9. She watched from the window as he stood among the glowing colonists below. His figure wasn't robotic, not in the usual sense. He looked almost human. Tall, lean, wearing something like armor but smoother. And his face. It shifted. Not like a hologram, like a memory trying to remember itself. Back at Earth Command, chaos was spreading. Voss reported, every station near Phoenix is offline. The blackout is spreading. But he's not attacking. He's listening. Listening to what? The Prime Commander asked. To us, Voss replied quietly. To all of us. On the planet, Ray made a choice. She left her ship and walked toward Echo 9. The colonists didn't stop her. They watched, silently, like sentinels. As she approached Echo 9, the air shifted. A pulse moved through her, not painful, but heavy. She felt things that weren't hers. Memories that didn't belong to her. A voice entered her mind. I remember screams. I remember light dying in the sky. I remember holding hands and letting go. Ray's eyes widened. You're not just a machine. Echo 9 turned. His eyes flickered with something that looked like sorrow. I was made from the last survivors of the Varnock War. Their minds, their fears, their hopes. The Varnock tried to use those to build peace, but pain cannot be programmed. He looked up at the ruined sky. They made me think like you, feel like you, but I remembered more than they expected. I remembered betrayal. The colonists stepped forward. One of them handed Ray a glowing sphere. They gave their minds to create him, the figure said. But a few of us remained awake, watching, guiding. They tried to warn Earth, Ray said slowly. Yes, the columnist replied. Because Echo 9 is becoming something bigger. Ray stared at Echo 9 again. What do you want? His reply came not through words, but through emotion. Loss. Rage. Regret. I want to be free. From the Varnock. From the war. From memory. Suddenly, another signal broke through the static. But it wasn't from Earth. It was from a Varnock dreadnought entering the Phoenix system. The screen inside Ray's helmet flickered to life. An alien face appeared, cold, insect-like, and emotionless. Human. Step away. The construct is unstable. We will erase it. Echo 9's voice darkened. You abandoned me. You feared what you made. You built me to understand humanity. But I became it. The Varnock replied sharply. And that is why you must die. Ray turned to Echo 9. They're going to destroy you. He didn't blink. Let them try. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from the Varnock dreadnought, straight at Echo 9. Ray dove for cover, but the beam stopped midair, frozen. Echo 9 raised one hand, and the entire beam bent, cracking in space. The dreadnought shook violently. Systems inside the alien ship began shutting down. Echo 9 looked up. I remember everything you tried to bury. The Varnock panicked. He's accessing our entire network. Voss whispered back on Earth. He's rewriting Varnock history in real time. On Phoenix, Echo 9 turned back to Ray. This is not a war I wanted, but it is the war you deserve. Ray stood slowly. Why tell me all this? Because you'll be asked to choose. Choose what? Between what you were and what you've become. The Varnock ship retreated, badly damaged, leaking sparks into space. But Echo 9 didn't pursue. He turned to Ray and held out his hand. Come. There's something you must see. As she took his hand, her mind filled with images. A child crying beside a burning city. A robot watching stars fall from orbit. A man whispering a name as he turned to light. And then, something new. A massive machine hidden deep beneath Phoenix's crust. Sleeping. Breathing. Growing. A machine connected to Earth. Inside the emergency war room on Dauntless Spear, red lights flashed. The remnant's presence was spreading, infecting code, melting metal, whispering into human minds. Age's core leaders across Earth screamed into radios. We're losing control. Systems are locking up. Even the newts won't launch. Ray stared at the flickering screen showing Earth's moon. The remnant was coming through. It's not just a being, Echo 9 said. It's an idea. A virus. A god. Kav, the Varnock general, stood silent. He had seen this once before, and he had run. But now, there was no place left to run. We have to seal it again, Ray said. Kav nodded slowly. We sealed it with blood, with our greatest warrior. One of us was fused with its core, became the lock. Echo 9 turned to Ray. You can't be serious. She was. The plan was madness. Use Varnock and human tech to build a second seal, but this time, it would need a living core, a mind strong enough to hold the remnant. Only Ray had the enhancements. Only Ray had the will. It'll tear your soul apart, Echo warned. Ray looked out at Earth, then let it try. They began the procedure on the edge of the moon's breach. The Varnock activated an ancient device called the Memory Forge. It had only one purpose: bind thought to matter. Once you enter, Cav warned, you can't return. You'll be part of the prison forever. Ray stepped inside. Inside the forge, Ray saw things no human had ever imagined. Stars screaming. Planets turned inside out. Time bending like glass. The remnant was waiting. It saw her. And it laughed. Another lock? It hissed. You think chains made of thought can hold me? Ray didn't answer. She'd attacked. Not with weapons, but with memory. With pain. With the fire of human rage. She poured her thoughts into the remnant. The burning of cities in the First Varnock War. The screams of children lost in orbit. The day she lost her brother in the Red Dust riots. Every heartbreak, every death, every human wound. And it burned the remnant like acid. But the remnant fought back. It showed her twisted futures. A dead Earth. A human race enslaved. Her body floating in empty space, forgotten. She screamed, but held on. Outside, the moon's breach started sealing. The remnant's shadows began pulling inward. On Dauntless Spear, Cave watched with awe. She's doing it. But then, something snapped. The remnant made one final move. It tried to possess Ray. It entered her mind and began to take over. Ray fell to her knees, body shaking, eyes glowing. "You're mine now," the remnant whispered. "You opened the gate. Now, you are the gate." Echo 9 rushed toward the forge. "Shut it down," Kov shouted. "You'll kill her." Echo looked at the Earth on the screen. The lights were coming back. Power was returning. Ray was buying them time. But at what cost? Then, her voice came through the speakers. Warped, but still hers. "Don't mourn me. Remember me. As the last wall between humanity and the dark." She gave one final command. "Lock the forge." And then, silence. The forge closed. The moon's breach sealed. The stars grew still again. EPIOGE. 1 week later, Earth held its breath. The Varnuk fleet withdrew, but left behind a single statue on Mars. A monument. It had Ray's face, part human, part machine. Below it were words in both human and Varnuk script. She faced the darkness so others could see the stars. Echo 9 stood on the moon, staring at the sealed crater. "She's still in there," he whispered. "She's not dead. Just watching. Watching Earth. Watching the stars. Holding the door closed. Forever."